Welcome. This is Residiva. I'm sharing a recording of a casual Skyrim playthrough using a mod list I built. My profound thanks to all the mod creators who have made this game a crowdsourced treasure. I hope you enjoy. Huh. I'm just noticing that the chair looks blood spattered. It's because I keep sitting in it while I have blood on me? Well, now I don't. I wonder if I should sit in the other one and make a match or. Okay. Does the blood disappear? It's just a bloody chair? Well, that's disturbing, but okay. Okay, I am back to story time. Had a hell of a week. So, last time I played was before the US election and before Veilguard. So, this is not a political, this is not a political recording, so I'm going to reserve my, opinions there. It's also not a game review. This is playing Skyrim, but I had spoken before about me being cautiously concerned about Veilguard. And yeah, for me personally, it was a terrible experience. I will say it is a good standalone game, which I would probably give like a 7 to overall. But because it's a BioWare game, because of all the precedent of prior games, it my review would be much lower because they did a few specific things. The writing was relatively terrible compared to other BioWare storytelling events. They negated pretty much everything that you had done. They have their own canon set up. You're in a different world. So I compared it to going on a date with someone that you were like really involved with, in love with, like 12 years ago, and you reconnect and you might want to relive old memories, but they've forgotten everything that you did together. They look amazing, their hair is perfect, and they can fight like crazy, but say they never bothered to learn anything about me or remember anything about me. They look like someone that I care about, but they clearly do not remember or care about me at all. They can't even remember my name, and they keep offering me things that I don't want. So, say, like for me personally, it would be like, okay, so you take me out and you get me a ribeye and you take me, to the best seats for like a football game. Well, I'm a vegetarian and I don't like football, and they don't remember that. So, yeah, I worked hard at it. I resented after I did try to record it, but after about 2 hours of recording, I couldn't even stand going back and watching it again and trying to edit it. I was just antagonized and angry, so I stopped trying to record it. That will not happen. Played the game through. I knew all the BioWare mechanics. The story was not complicated. Navigated it with no problem. Got a relatively great ending. So I didn't actually make mistakes my first time through. And I got an achievement that just, said you beat the odds and you walked into the sunset. So, I did review other endings. They're, not great. So I can understand some of my other BioWare. I fucked it up like massively, and then I wanted to go back and fix it. I can't even consider going back and playing it without feeling like physically nauseated. There are a bunch of puzzle mechanics that I don't want to repeat, and the writing's bad. So, we're just gonna read books in Skyrim. The Marksmanship Lesson by Allah Lala. Kelmer and Bryn had very definite opinions on how things should be done. Every slave he bought on the day he bought him or her was soundly whipped in the courtyard for a period of 1 to 3 hours, depending on the individual degree of independent spirit. The whip he used, or had his castellan use, was of wet, knotted cloth which regularly drew blood, but very seldom maimed. To his great satisfaction and personal pride, few slaves ever needed to be whipped more than once. The memory of their first day, and the sight and sound of every subsequent slave's first day, stayed with them throughout their lives. When Bryn bought his first Bosmer slave, he ordered his castellan to whip him only for an hour. The creature, which Bryn had named Dob, seemed so much more delicate than the Argonians and Khajiit and Orcs who made up the bulk of his slaves. Dob was clearly ill-suited for work in the mines or in the fields, but he seemed presentable enough for domestic service. Dob did his work quietly and tolerably well. Bryn occasionally had to correct him by refusing him food, but the punishment never needed to go further. Whenever guests arrived at the plantation, the sight of the exotic and elegant addition to Bryn's household staff always impressed them. "Here, you," said Genetha Ilak, a minor but still noble member of the House Induro, as Dob presented her with a glass of wine. "Were you born a slave?" "No, Sidor," Dob answered with a bow. "I used to rob nice ladies like you on the road." The company all laughed with delight, but Kelmer Bryn checked with the slave trader from whom he had bought Dob and found that the story was true. The Bosmer had been a highwayman, though not one of any great notoriety, before he had been caught and sold into slavery as punishment. It seemed so extraordinary that a quiet fellow like Dob, who always looked respectfully downward at the sight of his superiors, could have been a criminal. Bryn made up his mind to question him about it. "You must have used some sort of weapons when you were robbing all those pilgrims and merchants," Bryn grinned as he watched Dob mop. "Yes, Sidor," Dob replied, humbly. "A bow." "Of course. You Bosmer are supposed to be very handy with those." Bryn thought a moment and then asked, "A bit of a marksman, were you?" Dob nodded humbly. "You will tutor my son Wadalik in archery," the master said after another moment's pause. Wadalik was 12 years of age and had been rather sadly spoiled by his mother, Bryn's late wife. The boy was useless at swordplay, fearful of being cut. He embarrassed his father's pride, but a personality defect seemed ideally suited to the bow. Bryn had his castellan purchase a finely wrought bow, several quivers of arrows, and ordered targets to be set up in the wildflower field next to the plantation house. In a few days' time, the lessons began. For the first few days, the master watched Wadillik and Dob to be certain that the slave knew how to teach. He was pleased to see the boy learn the grips and the different stances. Business concerns, however, had taken precedent. Bryn only had time to see to it that the lessons were continuing, but not how well they were progressing. It was a month's time before the issue was re-examined. Bryn and his castellan were reviewing the plantation's earnings and expenses, and they had come to the area of miscellaneous household costs. You might also check to see how many targets in the field need to be repaired. "I've already anticipated that, Sidor," said the castellan. "They are in pristine condition." "How is that possible?" Bryn shook his head. "I've seen targets fall apart after only a few good shots. There shouldn't be anything left after a month's worth of lessons." "There are no holes of any kind in the targets, Sidor. See for yourself." As it happened, at that hour, the marksmanship lesson was underway. Bryn walked across the field, watching Dob guide Wadillik's arm as the boy took aim at the sky. The arrow flew up in an arc over the top of the target, burying itself in the ground. Bryn examined the target and found it to be, as his castellan said, in pristine condition. No arrow had touched it. "Master Wadillik, you must pull your right arm down further," Dob was saying, "and the follow-through is essential if you expect your arrow to gain any height." "Height?" Bryn snarled. "What about accuracy? Unless he's been secretly racking up a high kill ratio on birds, you haven't taught my son a single thing about marksmanship." Dob bowed humbly. "Sidura, first, Master Wadillik must become comfortable with the weapon before he need worry about accuracy. In Valenwood, we learn by watching the bolt arc at different levels and different winds before we try very hard to strike targets." Bryn's face turned purple with fury. "I am not a fool. I should have known not to trust a slave with my boy's education." The master grabbed Dob and shoved him toward the plantation house. Dob, head down, began the humble, shuffling walk he had learned in his domestic duties. Waterlick, tears streaming down his face, tried to follow. You stay and practice, roared his father. Try aiming at the target itself, not at the sky. You are not coming back into the house until there is one hole in that damned bullseye. The boy tearfully returned to practice, while Bryn brought Dob into the courtyard and called for the whip. Dob suddenly broke away and scrambled to hide behind some barrels in the center of the yard. Take your punishment, slave. I should have never shown you mercy the day I bought you, Bryn bellowed, bringing the whip down on Dob's exposed back again and again. I have to toughen you up. There'll be no more soft jobs as tutor and valet in your future. Wadlick's plaintive yell drifted in from the meadow. I can't, Father, I can't hit it. Master Wadlick, Dob cried back as loud as he could, his voice shaking with pain. Keep your left arm straight and aim slightly east. The wind has changed. Stop confusing my son, Bryn screamed. You'll be in the salt rice fields if I don't beat you to death first, like you deserve. Dob, the boy wailed far away. I still can't hit it. Master Wadlick, take 4 steps back, aim east, and don't be afraid of the height. Dob tore away from the barrels, hiding under a cart near the wall. Bryn pursued him, raining down blows. The boy's arrow sailed high over the target and kept climbing, reaching a pinnacle at the edge of the plantation house before coming down in a magnificent arc. Bryn tasted the blood before he realized he'd been hit. Gingerly, he raised his hand and felt the arrowhead protruding out of the back of his neck. He looked at Dob crouching under the wagon and thought he saw a faint smile cross the slave's lips, just for an instant before he died. Bryn saw the face of the rogue highwayman on Dob. Bullseye, Master Wadlick, Dob crowed. The Night Mother's Tree by Gaston Belefort. Although various works have been written on the subjects of both Morrowind's Morag Tong and Tamriel's more widespread Dark Brotherhood, there remains confusion as to precisely when and how these two feared assassins' guilds formed, or, more specifically, when and how the Dark Brotherhood split from the Morag Tong, as the former is widely accepted to have sprung from the latter. The largest point of contention seems to be the figure of the Night Mother, a woman who figures prominently in both organizations. Through extensive research and interviews, and not inconsiderable risk to my own life, for the Dark Brotherhood holds this information sacred, I have finally solved this ages-old mystery. I have finally uncovered the Night Mother's truth. Although her name has been lost to time, the Night Mother was once a mere mortal, a dark elf woman who lived in a small village, once located where the city of Brayville stands now, in the imperial province of Cyrodiil. She was a respected member of the Morag Tong, and, like her fellow members, this woman made her trade as an assassin in service to the Daedric Prince Mephala. In fact, the woman held the title of Night Mother, reserved for the highest-ranking female member of the organization. To be Night Mother of a particular sect was to be that group's matron, the favorite of Mephala, both respected and feared. However, it was not Mephala who facilitated the transformation from woman to spectre, but another, some would say far deeper form of evil, Sithis, the Dreadlord, embodiment of the unending void. Following the potentate's assassination in 2E324, strife descended upon the Morag Tong, and the guild was all but eradicated in Cyrodiil and much of the Empire. It was shortly after these events that the Dunmer woman claimed to bear the voice of Sithis himself. The Dreadlord, she claimed, was displeased. He was unhappy with the Morag Tong's lack of success. The Void, he told her, was hungry for souls, and it was her destiny to set things right. And so, according to Dark Brotherhood legend, Sithis visited the Night Mother in her bedchamber, and begat her 5 children. 2 years passed before the unthinkable happened. The Dark Elf woman followed through with the Dreadlord's ultimate plan. One night, she murdered her children and sent their souls straight to the Void, straight to their father. When they learned of this affront to decency, the people of the village rallied against the woman, for such an act was considered incomprehensible even for a Night Mother of the Morag Tong. In the night of vengeance, they descended upon the woman, killing her and burning down the house in which the atrocity took place. And that was the end of the story, or so everyone thought. A little more than 30 years later, an unnamed man heard a strange, comforting voice inside his very head, just as the Dunmore woman claimed to hear the voice of Sithis inside hers. The voice identified herself as the Night Mother, and named the man Listener, the first of many. And so the unholy matron set her servant on the path he would find. And so the unholy matron set her servant on his path. He would find a new organization, a guild of assassins known as the Dark Brotherhood, and serve as not to Mafala, but to the Dreadlord Sithis. The Morag Tong, now surviving only in Morrowind, was an artifact of a forgotten age. The Dark Brotherhood would marry business with death. The organization would grow in wealth and power, and the void would swell with fresh souls. It was, the Night Mother told her listener, the perfect arrangement. In the early days of the Dark Brotherhood, the bodies of the Night Mother and her children were recovered from their original burial site and interred in a crypt beneath the site of her house, and there they remain, even today. So if in your travels you find yourself in the city of Bravo, and make a wish at the statue of the lucky old lady, as is the local custom, know that you stand on sacred, if evil, ground. For you stand above the Night Mother, the unholy matron herself, and your luck has just run out. The Nirnroot Missive by Sindarian. Following is a transcript of a speech given by Master Alchemist Sindarian at the Alchemical Symposium on Rain's Hand of 4E02. It is a revised version of an earlier missive Sindarian gave to some group several years before. We've done the best we could to preserve the original tone of his speech, but some light embellishments have been made for editorial reasons and for clarity. Shamarin Wraithorn, Imperial Scribe. I would like to address the symposium today with some startling revelations regarding the Nirnroot. Although this curiously tenacious flora grows almost anywhere in a significant body of water, is present, it's extremely rare, and soon to become extinct. After years of extensive research and the tireless efforts of my field assistant, I came into the possession of a large sampling of Nirnroot. According to the theories presented by the noted imperial herbalist Chivius Rigelium, Nirnroot once flourished until a cataclysmic event severely reduced their numbers. Although many scholars reject the proposal that the sun's death event of 1E668 catastrophically affected plant life, Chivius felt that the Nirnroot's normal growth cycle was interrupted by the lack of sun for a full year, whereas other plant species tend to find a way, the Nirnroot's mysterious magical nature made it especially susceptible to this climate shift. While this may or may not be the case, it's certainly true that the recorded sightings of Nirnroot are declining as the years pass. Chivius's notes oddly describe the Nirnroot as emitting a brilliant yellowish glow. Contrary to this fact, the Nirnroot of today has a soft, haunting blue-white glow. Subsequent studies by other scholars have failed to adequately explain the shift in hue. I propose that the Nirnroot sensed its own impending extinction and therefore altered its metabolism in order to survive. One of the most glaring pieces of evidence of my theory is the presence of Nirnroot in subterranean environments, places completely devoid of sunlight. Strangely, Chivius's notes fail to mention even a single instance of a subterrestrial Nirnroot. But how could this be? How could a surface-dwelling plant suddenly be appearing in new locations radically different from its normal habitat? The answer, my fellow alchemists, is ironically concealed within Chivius's own notes. Although he spends a great deal of time experimenting with the Nirnroot in his laboratory, he overlooked an important part of the plant's growth cycle, its soil. Chivius was correct in assuming the volcanic eruption of Red Mountain contributed to the demise of the Nirnroot, but I believe the ash from that mighty explosion did more than simply cloud the skies. When mixed with the fertile soil of Cyrodiil, this fine powder is the true cause of the Nirnroot's astounding metamorphosis. Although little volcanic ash from that dark time remains, I have performed tests on samples sent to me from Vardenfell. Careful scrutiny of the samples revealed that they were rife with ash salt, a highly magical substance. Dunmer, native to the Vardenfell region, were known to have used ash salt as an ingredient to cure the blight, an awful disease which decimated their realm hundreds of years ago. This unique property of the ash salt, coupled with the Nirnroot's inherent magic, caused the radical change. In essence, the root healed itself. In summation, it's clear that the Nirnroot was dying and used a byproduct of its destructor to preserve itself. I feel that Nirnroot has accomplished in a relatively short amount of time what it would take other species thousands of years to complete. Whether you subscribe to my theory or not, one thing is certain. A Nirnroot is a path to destruction. It contains untapped potential to create potions the likes of which have never been seen in our day. I propose to you today that we divert a small portion of our funds to an expedition to collect some of these roots to study. I've outlined this proposal for your perusal after this section of the symposium. Please seriously consider this proposal before it becomes too late, and the Nirnroot becomes nothing more than a memory. Thank you for your time. Okay, we are coming up on finishing most of the dungeons. Yep, Ingol's Barrow is the last. I think that has a claw, and I think I already have it. I should have bought it from. I'm right. Should be east of Windhelm. Yeah, Ingol's Barrow is like right about here, I think. I haven't even discovered it. So I'm just gonna head there. Pretty sure that's where it is. If I'm wrong, it's only about 30 seconds before I figure it out. And then after we're done with dungeons, I'll continue on with Creation Club, which will certainly take some time. Yeah, that should be it right there.
Hey!
That sounds...
Is someone there?
No. I was interested to learn that horses don't really go much faster than running. And that if I have the speed buff stuff... Oh, trolls. Yeah. Speed buff stuff, I will run faster than my horse will. Yeah. It is Ingol's Barrow. Okay. And yeah, I'm not sure. I think her name is Brynja, and she sold me a claw from Winterhold. Something like that. Okay. Okay, this sounds a bit off. Let me adjust that. Yeah, that's a lot. Okay. So I'm gonna double down on playing Skyrim. Also, there is there was a re-release of what was it? Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but I'm not finding it as good as it might be. I'm gonna have to do a bit more exploring, but it seems to have some new, unfortunately tedious mechanics that aren't so much fun. Okay. Okay, there's a puzzle. Alright. Let's see if Puzzle Solver can fix this. I haven't gotten much use out of it in this game. But it is a vanilla thing. Yeah, okay. Good. So I'm gonna double down on Skyrim for a little bit. It's comforting. I know it, and I can just set up some role play. So I've got my good lady and my bad guy, and I think I'm probably also going to explore different races. So I haven't played Argonians or Khajiit, and I might do that, and I also might do the good and evil, and then do it's kind of it's all gray, but then do someone who is a die-hard stormcloaker, and someone who is a die-hard imperialist. That can take up some time. Because the mods keep rolling, and there's always something new to try. There are updates and changes, and I'm really enjoying that. So I'm interested in seeing all of the particular content that the Serana dialogue overhaul can do, and then how different role play can be based on your race and motivations. And it's all probably... I keep telling myself I'm going to do different weapons, but you know I never do. I go straight back to Stealth Archer. But that might be... I need the Coral Claw. Oh. Huh. Okay, so I'm mistaken. Where is the Coral Claw? That's a very good question. It's a quest item, so I probably can't auto-loot it. Let me see if I can find out where it is.
It's a good thing you're cute, or I'd turn you in for that bounty myself.
I did. I bought it. I know I bought it from Berna. I always buy it from Berna. Wow. Okay, so... yeah, it really isn't... Alright. This is... I Alright, I'm gonna head back to Winterhold. In fact, I'm gonna port out of here. Yeah, in my new playthrough, I put teleports back in just because they're... What? Just because... Oh, alright. It won't let me out. Fabulous. Well, we'll be back. In theory. See, Dead Scholar. Nope, doesn't have anything that I need.
I take my oath to you very seriously. No matter what comes, I'll not leave you unprotected.
Oh, I'm stuck. Fun. Yeah, I'm stuck in. I can't go to first person. Alright. Zone out. Go to Winterhold, see if I can speak to Berna. It would probably be in the Legacy of the Dragonborn Museum, although it shouldn't be, because it's still an active quest item. Berna. Usually I do a whole run through Winterhold, but I think, yeah, this time I didn't go there first and do all the things, so we'll see. I know where she is.
Wait, I know you.
Is it true what they say? There was a dragon held captive. My cousin's out fighting dragons, and what do I get? Guard duty. I'll sell just about anything if it's worth my time. Keep that in mind, will you?
Why set up shop here?
Wasn't by choice, I can tell you that. Options were in short supply. Ranmir and I grew up here, and his drinking soaked up whatever coin we had. So I opened a shop to try and get by. Now, though, have to admit, I'm attached to the place. Suppose that makes me crazy, doesn't it?
You get much business up here? Yeah, it's grayed out. I already
Very
asked her.
funny.
Yeah, huh.
I'm sure you've noticed that Winterhold isn't exactly overflowing with people. So I'll sell whatever I can. If it's worth putting a price on, you can bet I'll do it. Aye. Things are easier now that I don't have to worry about Ranmir anymore.
I'd like to make an investment in
You
your
want to give me
business.
money? Just like that? Fine. But I intend to earn that investment. I don't need handouts. I'll work hard to justify your faith in me.
Okay.
Oh, a bit of this and a bit of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I already bought it. You can't buy it here. And normally she has... She says something about, yeah, I've made some bad deals. And she mentions... She mentions the call. Yeah,
It's a good thing you're cute.
and the
But I'd
comment
turn you
is
in for that
already
bounty
grayed
myself.
out. So I'm gonna check the museum. Should be right in the front hall. Yep, there's the coral claw. Alright.
Mind your...
Weird.
This is why you don't invade Skyrim in the winter.
Not wrong. Hey, little guys. Okay, let's try this again. Is that like a Jeep corpse? Or it's just a drugger? They're so common. You're like, yeah, it's just a, you know, it's just 1,000-year-old already dead. Go shade. Okay. Yep, that's it. That's Ingo's barrel. So yeah, you can see full winter.
How did they find us?
No more unfrozen. Right, penguins. Is it a worker, honey?
It's yours.
Want dinner? Oh, sneaky
Whatever it is,
troll.
we can handle it. Now
Let's get some dinner, sweetheart, and then take a nap.
have a
you know?
sip of water, and maybe I can steal a victory kiss or two, eh?
Yeah, let's do that.
You right, love? You alright? Maybe we should rest for the night. I'll pitch a tent for you anytime, sweetheart. Aye, alright.
The new Kaidan mod has a tie-in for new tents. Very cool. Oh, You know, I think I actually have control over the lighting here. Let me see. At least I'm not going to reinstall it, but it might be in here. You can control whether or not there's ambient light. Nah, I don't see it in the in the installer. You can turn off the ambient light in here and make it darker. This is just not, it's not great lighting. Yeah. Hello, sweetheart.
My favourite part. 10 is anywhere that you're naked in it.
Make some adjustments to hotkeys. Oh, wow. So I am no longer stripping. I'm just gonna do this now. Oh, I prayed. Oh. Well, that's, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I switch games and I fumble the controls a bit. Alright, let's see if Kaidan has any notes. Letter from Kaidan, 10 even star 201. So there, you've taken over my thoughts. I swear I'm going mad. Watched you talking to yet another pompous ass today. All I could think about was how your lips tasted last night, how your skin felt beneath mine, the way you said my name. Swear I'll never get enough of you. Gods, I hope you feel the same. Kai. Oh. I don't, but she does. The Oblivion Crisis. By Praxis Sakorum, Imperial Historian. At the turning of the Fourth Age, in the year 3E 433, the Emperor Uriel VII was assassinated, and the Amulet of Kings was destroyed. This set in motion a chain of events that would bring down an empire and change forever the relationship between man and the gods. The assassins first attacked the Emperor in the White Gold Tower. While the blades held them back, the Emperor made his way down into the dungeons to a secret escape route built into one of the prison cells. For reasons known only to himself, the Emperor pardoned the fortunate prisoner in that cell. Some say the prisoner reminded him of a childhood friend. Others say it was a moment of prophecy. How would they know he was dead like 5 minutes later? Whatever the cause, the prisoner came to play a fateful role in the history of the Empire and Tamriel, surely a sign that the gods themselves were at work. The pursuing assassins killed the Blade's bodyguards in a relentless series of sneak attacks. Eventually, they struck down the Emperor himself. Before he fell, Uriel Septim VII gave the Amulet of Kings to the prisoner, who somehow made it out of the Imperial sewers and into the light of day. The assassination is now known to have been the work of a group of Daedric cultists known as the Mythic Dawn. Those who still suspect the Dark Brotherhood should consider two facts. First, they would have only needed a single assassin, not a small army of them. Second, the Dark Brotherhood would never be so foolish as to effectively declare war on the Empire, and thus ensure their complete destruction. Witness the eventual fate of the Mythic Dawn and the Morag Dawn. The Amulet of Kings next surfaced at Waynon Priory near Cor. Joffrey, secret Grand Master of the Blades and head of the Priory, took possession of the amulet. The messenger was sent off to Kvatch to find a lowly priest named Martin. Unbeknownst even to himself, Martin was the bastard son of Uriel Septim VII and the last heir to the Ruby Throne. He alone could use the Amulet of Kings to light the dragon fires that ward the barrier between Tamriel and Oblivion and save the world from the Mythic Dawn plot. The prisoner arrived at Kvatch to find it overrun by Daedra that had poured in from the newly opened Oblivion Gate. The start of an empire-spanning devastation of the Oblivion Crisis. How the prisoner closed the gate is not recorded. Once closed, Martin and the surviving Kvatch guardsmen drove back to Daedra. Now known as the Hero of Kvatch, the prisoner and Martin returned to Waynon Priory, only to find the priory sacked and the amulet taken. Joffrey survived the attack, however, and the three of them made their way to Cloudruler Temple, bastion of the Blades. This secret fortress in the mountains outside Bruma is where Martin was held safe while the Hero of Kvatch searched for the lost amulet. Knowing only that a mysterious group called the Mythic Dawn was behind the assassination and theft of the amulet, the Hero of Kvatch was sent to locate the cult. With the help of Boris, a blade in the service of the Emperor, they somehow used the commentaries on the Mysterium Xarxes, esoteric works by the madman Mancor Cameron, to direct them to the Mythic Dawn's secret lair. Scholars familiar with the commentaries claim the location is not directly mentioned in them. How they did this remains a mystery. No official records exist of how the Hero of Kvatch penetrated the Mythic Dawn's lair named Lake Arias. There is a bardic tale that claims the hero used trickery and disguise, but that's just speculation. What was discovered there is that Mancor Cameron was behind the Mythic Dawn, and that the group worshipped the Daedric prince Mehrunes Dagon. Mancor Cameron believed himself to be a direct descendant of the Cameron usurper, the infamous pretender to the throne of Valinor. Somehow the hero escaped with the Mysterium Xarxes itself, the holy book of the Mythic Dawn cult. Mancor Cameron fled to Oblivion with the Amulet of Kings. With some effort and great risk to his sanity, Martin deciphered the Mysterium Xarxes and intended to use it to open a gateway to Mancor Cameron in order to recover the Amulet of Kings. Before Martin could perform the ritual to open the gateway, Mehrunes Dagon opened an Oblivion Gate outside Bruma. The Hero of Kvatch saved the city and Martin by entering the gate and closing it before a Daedric siege engine could destroy Bruma and Cloudruler Temple. Many songs and stories have been told of this battle, and I will not retell them here. The Hero of Kvatch was now also known as the Savior of Bruma. With the city and Cloudruler Temple safe, Martin opened the portal to Mancor Cameron's paradise. The details of what transpired in this place have not been recorded. All that is known is that the Savior of Bruma traveled to this paradise, killed Mancor Cameron, and returned with the Amulet of Kings. With the amulet in hand, Martin Septim presented himself to the Elder Council to be crowned Emperor of all Tamriel. Once crowned, he planned to relight the dragon fires and seal Tamriel from oblivion. In a last-ditch attempt to stop him, Mehrunes Dagon launched an assault on the Imperial City, opening several Oblivion Gates within the capital itself. Uncrowned, Martin joined the battle in the city streets. Mehrunes Dagon himself left Oblivion and entered Tamriel, breaking the Covenant. Only the unlit dragon fires allowed this to be possible. Now that the barrier was ripped asunder, it was too late to relight the fires. Martin Septim chose to make the ultimate sacrifice. He shattered the Amulet of Kings to become the avatar of the god Akatosh and do battle with Mehrunes Dagon. Records of this battle vary wildly. What we do know is that Mehrunes Dagon was defeated and sent back to Oblivion. The avatar of Akatosh was turned to stone and can be seen to this day in the Temple of the One in the Imperial City. With the amulet gone, the dragon fires quenched, and the last Dragonblood Emperor dead. The barrier to oblivion is sealed forever. The Pig Children by Tyson Bay. No one, not the oldest dark elf of Mount Dagothr or the ancient sage of solitude himself, can recall a time when the orc did not ravage our fair Tamriel. Whatever foul and pestilent daedra of oblivion conjured them up could scarcely have created a more constant threat to the well-being of the civilized races of Tamriel than the obnoxious orc. Orcs are thankfully easy to recognize from other humanoids by their size, commonly 40 partains in height and 15,000 angades in weight. Wow. Okay. Their brutal pig-like features and their stench. They are consistently belligerent, morally grotesque, intellectually moronic, and unclean. By all rights, the civilized races of Tamriel should have been able to purge the land of their blight eras ago, but their ferocity, animal cunning, and curious tribal loyalty have made them inevitable as leeches in a stagnant pool. Tales of orcish barbarity precede written record. When Jastiaga wrote of the order of Diagnes joining in the armies of Daggerfall and Sentinel to hold at bay the wicked orcs in their fell Orsinium fastness and burn aught in cleansing flame in 1E 950, she assumed that any reader would be aware of the savagery of the orcs. When the siege was completed 30 years later, after the deaths of many heroes, including Kaidan Shinji, and the destruction of Orsinium scattered the orcish survivors throughout the Rothgarian mountains, she further wrote, "The free peoples rejoiced, for that their ancient fell enemy was dispersed into diverse parts." Obviously, the orcs had been terrorizing the region of the Iliac Bay at least since the early years of the First Era. They call that racism? I mean, it is, but it's also, true. Notes on Ingol Barrow. What a peculiar place the barrow turned out to be. I hadn't explored for very long before reaching this elaborate room and gate locking me from going further into the crypt. I confess it, I'm relieved. This place puts the fear of oblivion into me. There are some carvings in this room. I'll attempt to transcribe them for the college so I have something to show for this effort. All was so in Atmora, land of truth and our home. Man in his throne, so should he be. Whale in the sea, so should he be. Eagle in the sun sky, so should he be. Snake in the weed, so should he be. Sorrow for the sea ghosts took Ingol, prize brother of sail from Atmora's fleet, and none on land nor sky nor sea would ever again be as should be. Fascinating, these ancient Nords. I wonder what other secrets are hidden here. Surely there can't be harm in trying to go a little further. And there's a lever here, which must open the gate beyond. Okay, so that's the puzzle solution that I use the puzzle solver for. What was that? That sounded ominous. Okay. So, this tracker. Alright, we've done all dungeons. Alright, let's do side quests. A few words with you. Idra in the Braidwood Inn. Okay, that's Kinesgrove. Yeah, so we'll do, Yikes. Yeah, it's a little cold out here. Kinesgrove. Speaking of which, while I'm here, I'm gonna do some archaeology. Oh yeah, I didn't ask Kaidan to back up the tent. Oops. Oopsies. He is not here. Okay, in my new mod, this area is kind of scary. In my new mod list, I
I love
talked to
you.
him.
You know that, right?
I love you too. Can you back up the campsite?
Alright.
Thank you, honey. I added, Daedroth, which are from earlier games and Oblivion, I believe, but I know them mostly from Oblivion. But added in there in this area it's a mob called an old Daedroth, and it's basically like a Daedroth skeleton, but it was built using the werewolf
You know, I've come
body
to enjoy
form.
your company on the road. The view
So
is
it just
always
looks like,
fun.
oh, okay, cool. I can head back to the excavation site. Just looks like a werewolf with like a Daedroth skeleton on the head. It's like really freaky, and but it's also level 33, so it will kick your
I'm in no
ass
mood
in
for this
moments.
fucking shit today.
So I came here to start out excavation early in my other run through, and that was a mistake. Where are you guys? Oh, you got him? Yeah, they're
I'm
just
in no mood
skeletons.
for this shit today.
They're just skeletons.
I'll
Oh.
kick your ass.
Okay, I'm in combat.
These bastards won't fucking die!
Alright.
No.
There's a dragon lurking over there, but it might take it 20 minutes to notice us. Who knows? Ugh. Yeah, it's just it. All right. I'm gonna have to run because I might be in combat with that dragon. Okay. I don't even know if I went up there and killed the dragon or if they respawn. Did I get the shout from up there? I think so. But again, when I'm playing multiple playthroughs, and I might have done this, 2 months ago, it's hard to remember. So I'll run up the hill.
Come on!
Kitty! I mean, really?
Problem solved.
I have contracted wither. Ugh. What's wither? Reduced heavy and light armor. Armor rating minus 50 points. Yee. I don't want that. It's unwither. I love the thunder. It's so cool.
Words in his mouth. More infamy than thin, but really he has a tiny wee.
Okay, let's see if I have fossils that I can trade. I believe the last time I tried this, I put stuff in the container and then I immediately looted it, and I'm like, huh. It doesn't work. I'm gonna put in fossils that I have already collected. So. Wow, I'm not jumping very high. My boots should make me jump high. Why am I not wearing them? Silly lady. There you go. Good job. Alright.
Good day. So long.
Okay, so she's got nothing to say because we've already met. I'm going to turn off my auto loop. It's a little confusing which ones are... Hello? Okay. I'm gonna help her in a second. Okay, I believe if I sort for fossil and then sort by value, the lowest ones will be tier 1. So I'll give it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 low value. See what I get.
Do you really want to throw your life away?
Troll, rude.
That
Leave her be.
supposed to hurt? Well, there's my exercise for the day.
Okay. I should have gotten a better fossil. Okay. Alright. This is just, yeah, it's not working. Oh. Wait a minute. I'm going to put in 4. I can't count. Okay, so here is the problem. It doesn't actually tell you what is tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3. So I'm not really doing this. It does look like it gave me something. Let me see. Okay, yes, it gave me the fossilized fish. Alright, so you kind of have to guess at what tier is what. You can go upward from value. So it looks like I did do a tier 1. I'm going to try 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, So I only have 3 that aren't already, so I can't put in 5. That's how that would work. Okay. I was sabotaging myself with my auto loot, which, as we know, the auto loot giveth and the auto loot taketh away. But that is how it would work. So it's a little clunky, but I think this is supposed to be just one of those things where if you just kind of get, you break it up, all your murder, break up all your murder with just coming out and doing something nerdy and academic. And yeah, they do say it's tedious, but I think that's the point. I mean, no, the point isn't tedious. The point is, no, the person who made this, I believe it was Ice Cream Assassin, who also did Legacy of the Dragonborn.
My heart, soul, no!
Oh my god, I'm dead. Wow. Well, that hasn't happened in a while. Okay, so we went all the way back. Yeah, we went all the way back. We hadn't, I haven't saved since actually doing any of the archaeology. So I'll, if I'm gonna do that in the future, I'm just gonna go back and do that on my own. It is repetitive and tedious, but that's how it would work. Okay. So we were going to Kaidan's Grove. Okay, I think there are two quests in Kaidan's Grove.
Come
One
on
is
in.
for
We got warm food,
frost
warm drinks,
salts.
and warm beds.
Hey,
Need something?
Xenia. Can you train me in block?
Of course.
Okay. Let's do it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Woohoo. I can actually use my bow to block. I just don't do it. Alright. So I don't know if block applies to bows at all. Oh.
Poor Rogie. If you're feeling charitable, buy the Nordham mead. He's good for it.
Who's Rogie?
He's been in Kaidan's Grove forever. Great storyteller. Keep Keeps everyone's spirits up. Owes me a lot of coin for drinks. I keep telling him not to worry about it, but he's got the stubborn Nord blood. Damn fool doesn't have the coin to pay me back, so he just beats himself up over it, and then he gets thirsty and it cycles all over again.
What if I talk to Rogi?
If you could convince him that I don't care about his tab, it'd certainly make me feel better.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
Kynes Grove, at least the way that I often start the game with Kaidan, could be one of my first stops, really. You stumble out of the, abandoned prison. You can't really go anywhere, so Kynes Grove is really a good first stop, but it becomes, like, really unsatisfying because one of the only quests that you can do here, you've got two quests. You've got one to convince Rogi to, you know, stop drinking and such, or to not worry about the fact that he's in debt. And then there's a woman in the mines who wants frost salts. Well, I don't have, you know, high persuasion skill or frost salts at this point, so.
If you bring mead, you're welcome here. Even if you don't, you're still welcome.
Idra wants you to forget about all that coin you owe her.
What do you think I am? A beggar? My family has always paid back every single coin we owed, going back to Tiber Septim's time.
Stop being stubborn. Let it go.
I guess you're right. A Nord shouldn't be so proud to turn down a kind soul's generosity. Tell Idra I'll be fine.
How do you know so much about me?
A lifetime of study, you might say. The best comes from Riften, but I haven't been there in years. Ever tried making your own? It's, not easy, trust me.
Yes, actually, my
Until
husband
next time.
does make mead, and it is not easy. I don't do it. He does it. He hasn't made any in a while. We just don't drink much. But he made like mojito mead and mandarin
Let me know if you need
mead,
anything, or take a seat by
clementine,
the fire and I'll
really
send someone over.
yummy stuff.
Did you see my husband already? I'm sorry. He can come off a bit rough at times.
Rogi won't be complaining anymore.
It'll be good to not have to hear him whining about his debts. Rogi pawned a few of his things back when he still had things to pawn.
Wow, there's something.
Take them.
Her neck is not great, is it? That doesn't work for me.
All right, then.
Okay, that's better. That was scary. All right. I think it's a dark elven lady about here. I don't know if
Now
she
here's a
sleeps
woman
here.
I'm glad to see.
There we go.
An outsider? No reason to stop in Kynesgrove. Keep moving.
What are you doing, Kynesgrove?
Nosy one, huh? I was a mage back in Morrowind. I lend my talents to the mines here, helping them keep the tunnels safe. By Azura, it gets hot in there. I use frost salts for a potion to keep the heat bearable, but I'm out.
I could find those frost salts for you.
If you want to go to the trouble, feel free. I suppose I could offer you a bit of free alteration training when you get back.
I have your frost salts.
Well, well. You actually did what you said you were going to do. I'm impressed. Here, let me teach you a thing or two about alteration magic. It's the least I can do.
Can you train me in alteration magic?
I can certainly share a bit of what I know.
I think she can only train me up to 90, but more than I got right now. $75. Okay. Yeah, I'd have to find a master
All
trainer.
right, then.
Honestly, God, I don't even know what alteration does. I don't think I've ever... Okay, stone flesh. Yeah, I probably would have to take some of my new characters and tell them, no, no bow, no. But then I stopped playing them. Alright, let me check. What are alteration spells? By the way, that's illusion. Alteration. Okay, paralyzed, telekinesis. Alright, I get it. Okay, on to the Trial of Trinimac. Return to the excavation. Okay, I've never done this content. No idea what's going to happen.
It's like traveling with a dumb shadow.
Good day.
Making progress, I see.
Oh, yes, indeed. We've completed the scaffold and have been studying the architecture with mixed returns. There is also a sealed chest on that central column under the arch, which is locked tight and we haven't been able to open it. Perhaps you could have a crack at it. All right, then.
Frost Warden. Deals 20 frost damage for 20 seconds and provides 30% frost resistance.
Guildmaster, up here.
What did you find?
Come up and Latoria will show you. You must come up here. Latoria has figured it out, Professor Marasi.
Ah, splendid. I'll be right up.
How? Whee! Yeah, I probably should have died there, huh? Where did these trees come from, by the way? Like, with what sunlight?
How can this one help?
I have some ruined books for you.
Ah, excellent. Let's see what you have found. Ah, good, good. It will take some time to decipher these. Come back tomorrow and Latoria will let you know what she has found. What can Latoria do for you, Guildmaster?
How are things?
Latoria thinks that something other than time and neglect caused the descent of the snow elven structures. Until we speak again.
Okay.
Isn't this exciting? We found this book here, protected by this magical barrier, but Latoria hasn't been able to break through it. But then Latoria discovered this. This dais is somehow linked to the barrier magically. It also is obviously missing something.
What can I do for you, Guildmaster?
How are things?
Ah, my aching back. I'll have to see if Ariana's got any more of that salve she made. Yes, looks as if whatever was on here had something to do with the barrier. Rocks came crashing down and smashed the dais. Sending
lack
whatever
the
was here
required
flying
item.
off. Our theory is the barrier was activated when the object was knocked off.
Wonderful news. That's great to hear. Perhaps what we need was merely knocked off and could still be in the area. Hopefully it wasn't carried off anywhere. Let's have a look around in the chamber and see if we can find anything. You too, Guildmaster.
Me too.
I'm pretty sure I woke up saying her name this morning. Don't remember what I was dreaming about. But damn, it left me smiling.
You're a light in the darkness, Kaidan.
Good eye,
Place the cup
Guildmaster.
on the dice.
I'll
Yeah,
bet.
auto-looted it! For once, the poor tagging of quest stuff helped me. Yay!
Did it?
Ooh, big
Amazing.
cup. Yeah, how
I'll
could
have
you
to
miss that?
double-check with Arian, but I believe that must be a shrine to Fanaster. Let's have a look at the book, shall we?
Read Falmer Tome. Okay. I can't read it.
Greetings, Guildmaster!
Well, the book is entirely in Falmer.
Yes, I can see that. But it does have some curious tally marks on the back here. I wonder what that is all about.
Notice those as well. Any idea what they could mean?
I have no idea. I suppose there undoubtedly are clues in the context of the book, but we'll have to translate it first. I suppose a trip back to Calcimo is in order. Perhaps with his help we could...
That was very unpleasant.
What in the... That sounds like Falmer.
Yeah.
Look up there.
Sounds like ridiculously loud. Please don't do that again, Falmer.
Silence!
Oh.
How dare you defile this place with your presence? These hallowed halls are all that
Beg your
remains
pardon?
of our once proud people.
By the gods, he just spoke.
Your presence here is a blasphemy and has corrupted this place. A sin only cleansed by destruction. Kill them.
What was that?
I heard something. Hey, easy there. Hey, easy there. Hey,
Taro,
easy there.
I'm sorry, man.
Problem solved. Okay, I know this isn't the right way, but I don't think I've gone this far down, so I'm just gonna
clear the area.
You bastard!
Okay, yeah, there's
You have a death
a
wish?
lot of water down there. But no fish. And a lot of clipping. Okay, so I'm not supposed to do this. She says that she still doesn't.
Time to end this! Oh, shit. Are you alright, Dragon? Oh, jumped out of my chest that fight. I don't know what I'd fucking do if I ever lost you.
Guildmaster! Look out above you!
Uh-oh.
Ah, good. They're finally coming around.
What? What happened? Where am I?
We're back at the guild house, safe and sound. You've been out for nearly a week. We're starting to doubt you'd ever come around.
A week? Seriously?
Yes, you took a rather nasty knock on the head. When those Falmer attacked the ruins, their leader brought the entire cavern down on itself. We barely got out.
How's business?
Is everyone else okay?
Well, sadly, no. Professor
What?
Marassi, he didn't make it
That's
out.
good to hear.
We dug for days but didn't find any sign of him aside from part of his coat and the tools he had.
What?
No, just
That's
the usual
tragic.
resupply order.
Yes, we've all been a bit taken aback, but I think Orion's the one taking it the hardest, being long-time friends and colleagues and all.
I refuse to believe he's dead. I'll talk with him.
That's good. He'd appreciate that. Glad you're back with us, Guildmaster.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's bad.
Are you alright?
Latoria is fine. She just sometimes thinks about her homeland.
What can I
Latoria
do
does
for
not
you?
want to be anywhere
No
else
response
but
to me
here.
being
No.
out for a week.
But
Okay, so.
every now and then,
All right.
memories work their way out.
Let's have a drink. Or eat something.
Yeah.
Smell.
He's not dead. I'm in denial.
Greetings.
Latoria had forgotten. Ariana is far from home as well. Apologies.
How are you holding up?
Oh, I'm doing all right, all things considered. Glad you are feeling better.
I heard about Patero.
This one speaks the truth.
Yes, it is a terrible loss.
Thank you.
He was a good colleague and a good friend. He will be sorely missed. His knowledge was rare and will be a loss to us all.
I know it's soon, but have you thought about a replacement for Chief Archaeologist? Seriously?
No, I really haven't, to be honest. I suppose I'll just leave it up to you if you don't mind.
I'll take care of it. If you need to talk, I'm here.
I appreciate it, my friend. I'll be all right.
Wow. Oh, wow. This is like not giving me any time to
Guy, do
potentially
you have a
breathe.
moment?
Of course. What can I do for you, Latoria?
Do you ever come across smooth, hand-sized pieces of quartz?
You mean like river rocks or ocean stones? Every now and then, yes. Would you like some?
Latoria would love to have a few, if it is not too much trouble.
Not a problem. If you don't mind me asking, what do you want them for?
Quartz has special magical properties that would not interfere with research. As odd as it might seem, such stones make ideal paperweights for arcane domes, because they do not react to magic.
Ah, that would make sense. How many would you like, and how soon do you need them?
No rush. This one has managed so far. But accidental flaws are not good for old manuscripts.
Hey, Fafnir.
Egelman? Egelman? There you are! Don't scare me like that!
Okay, so for Chief Archaeologist, honestly, Kyre, I'm going to say he's human and has a short lifespan. Latoria is... she also doesn't have the temperament for it. Her focus is magic. Madras has a much longer lifespan, much more experience, and has a better shot at diplomacy. So let's see.
Yes? What is it?
Think you're ready to take over as the chief archaeologist position?
Me? Heavens no. I've had my hands full enough already. Plus, I don't think I could step away from my duenna studies long enough to plan a dig. Thanks for the thought, though.
Okay.
Farewell. In conjunction with your chrono reversal spell used to regress damaged documents. And with it, the improved spell may serve to preserve the condition of the article for a longer period of time.
That is fantastic. This would allow Latoria more time to transcribe before the spell wears off and the document turns to dust.
I like it here.
This will be most useful to her. But how can she cast both this spell and the reversion spell at the same time? Would she need an assistant?
Actually, no. There is a type of spellcraft that, since the fall of the Mages Guild, had rather fallen into obscurity. Once you have a good understanding of the application of this incantation, I will work with you to craft a variant of your chrono reversal spell with this incantation integrated into it.
Oh, Latoria is not so sure if...
I am certain that you are capable, Latoria. You have a very solid and familiar grasp over your reversion spell, and this incantation is quite similar in many regards. So, I have no doubt that you will have no problem grasping the fusion of the two. Just find me whenever you feel comfortable with the incantation, and we'll work on it together.
Latoria greets you.
So it was out. Okay. Holding up okay?
Latoria was so near Marasi when the rocks fell. She tried to reach him, but the scaffold gave out. It was all she could do to escape herself. Farewell.
Okay, I think second most qualified is Kyra because he does do actual digging and he has corrected Marasi on like rubbings and, maps. So I'm going to speak to him. What do you think about taking over the chief archaeology position?
Me? The chief? Well, I don't know. I've been hitting the books pretty hard lately, but I don't know nearly as much as Marasi did.
That's okay, not many do. You'll figure it out. You're the most well-rounded here.
Thanks for your vote of confidence. I suppose if nobody's against it, I'd be happy to give it my best. Sure, I'll do it, Guildmaster.
Oh, very good for you, Kyle.
Ah, yes. Good choice, my friend. Patero would be proud.
Thanks, everyone. I just hope I don't go and muck it up too badly.
Nonsense. You have come a long way since you started with the guild as a mere digger. And you've put in many a long hour with me in the library, broadening your knowledge. Marasi would be most pleased. I couldn't think of a better successor.
Well, thanks. As long as I've got the rest of you to back me up, I'm sure we'll continue to do great things.
Cheer!
Well then, back to business, I suppose.
Wow, that's a lot for me to get, like, immediately.
I think we should continue onward, and not dwell on our losses. What do you say? Take care of yourself.
Okay, read the translated Falmer book. This is upsetting. Okay, I think it's forbidden lore. The harmony of Ifre shall forever entune the great evil of our folly. Only by the tone of his voice shall the chambers open. Though through Malak, the tool of our revenge shall be freed, and the world above shall burn, and the Falmer will feel the light of day once more. The great Death Weaver will rise, and he shall be given voice amongst the silent, be given sight amongst the blind, and he shall lead us to our destiny. Yeah, I don't...
Nice to be warm again.
Good day, friend.
So what do you make of the book?
Well, it obviously has the prophetic overtones of a saviour called the Death Weaver, rising up to redeem the Falmer and conquer the world of men. Obviously the Falmer really know how to hold a grudge, but who can blame them? From what I've read lately, they really got the shite end of the stick. Moloch, though? Why does that name sound familiar?
Because it's a orcish
Malakath.
thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Thank you. It's another name for Malakath, Daedric Prince of the Forsaken, Spurned and
Well, often
Unfaithful.
worshipped by orcs.
So it
At
may
least so I
seem
learned in
that
Elder
these
Scrolls
snow elves
Online.
might be worshipping Malakath.
That is an interesting connection, but I think it goes even deeper than that, depending on what school of thought you prescribe to. Malakath is regarded as the fallen form of Trinimac, and Trinimac is one of the 4 demigods revered by the Snow Elves. Those who think they are one and the same believe that Trinimac was consumed by Boethia and warped into the form of Malakath.
So then, if these Falmer are in fact worshipping Trinimac, they would likely be doing so from a temple devoted to him, right?
Presumably so, especially since they went out of their way to interfere with the excavation at Fort Greenwall.
Almost inventory day.
That would suggest they are still strict followers of the old beliefs in some form or another. We'll do some more research and hopefully we'll be able to uncover a location of a shrine to Trinimac here in Skyrim.
Okay. I'm very upset. Hey, Fafnir. I'm very upset. Pet you again? Thank you. Okay. Wow, nobody. Nobody but Ariana.
What do you need?
Holding up okay?
It's very sad about Marasi. I'm going to miss his sense of humor around here. Have a good one.
I'm bummed. I still don't actually think he's dead. But if he were, I would genuinely be sad. Okay, chair isn't bloody anymore. Oh, it looks like I have the set of the Poison Song, 4, 5, yeah, 1 through 7. Good. I haven't actually finished this. I've read bits and pieces, but I don't think I've ever read it in order. Poison Song, Book 1 by Briston Sell. It was beginning again. Even though everything seemed serene, the last embers crackling in the hearth, young servant girl and her child slumbering in a chair by the door, a tapestry half finished against the wall, waiting to be completed tomorrow, one of the moons visible through a milky cloud outside the window, a lone bird out of sight in the rafters, crowing placidly. That is a terrible sentence. It's just a long run-on sentence of phrases inside parentheses. Okay, I'm upset about Patero. I'm also upset about that sentence. Tay heard the first chords of the song strike dissonantly somewhere far away. The bird in the rafters croaked and took flight through the window. The baby in the girl's arms woke and began to scream. The song swelled in intensity, yet still remained subtle and stately in tempo. The movement of everything seemed to take on the rhythm of the music as if strange choreography had been staged. The girl rising to the window, the clouds reflecting back red from the inferno below, her scream all muted, consumed by the song. Everything that came thereafter Tay had seen so many times that it almost ceased to be a nightmare. He did not remember anything of his life before coming to the island of Guar, but he understood that there was something different in his past that set him apart from his cousins. It wasn't simply that his parents were dead. His cousin Bainara's parents had also died in the war. Nor were the other housemen on Gorn or nearby Mournhold unusually cruel to him. They treated him with the same polite indifference that any Indoril has for any other 8-year-old boy that got underfoot. But somehow, with absolute certainty, Tay knew he was alone, different, because of a song he always heard, and his nightmares. You're certainly imaginative. His aunt, Ulia, would smile patiently before waving him away so she could return to her scriptures and chores. Different? Everyone in the world thinks they're different. That's what makes it such a common sentiment, said his older cousin, Kalkorith, who was studying to be a temple priest and had a firm grasp on paradoxes. If you tell anyone else that you keep hearing music when there's no music to be heard, they'll call you mad and bury you in the shrine of Sheagorath. His uncle Trifith would snarl before striding away to attend to business. Only his nursemaid Edaba would listen to him seriously and just nod with a faint look of pride, but she would never say another word. His cousin and chief playmate, Bainara, was by far the least interested in the stories of his song and his dreams. "How tiresome you are with all this, Tay," said Bainara after lunch in the summer of his 8th year. He, she, and a younger cousin, Vaster, walked into a clearing in the midst of flowering trees. The grass was very low, barely up to their ankles, and there were big black piles of leaves from the previous autumn. "Now, shall we get back to it? What shall we play?" Tay thought for a moment. "We could play the Siege of Orsinium." "What's that?" asked Vaster, their constant companion, 3 years their junior. Orsinium was the home of the orcs off in the Rothgarian mountains. For hundreds of years it kept growing bigger and bigger and bigger. The orcs would come down from the mountain and rape and pillage all over High Rock. And then King Joel of the Daggerfall and Kaidan Shinji of the Order of Diagna and someone else, I forget, from Sentinel, all joined together against Orsinium. For 30 years they fought and fought. Orsinium had walls made of iron, and try as they might, they couldn't break through. "So what happened?" asked Bainara. "You're so good at making up things that never happened, why don't you make it up?" So they did. Tay was the king of the orcs, perched up in a tree they called Orsinium. Bainara and Vaster played King Joel and Kaidan Shinji, and they threw pebbles and sticks up at Tay while he taunted them in his most guttural voice. The three decided that the goddess Kinnereth, played by Bainara in dual role, answered the prayers of Kaidan Shinji and drenched Orsinium in a torrent of rain. The walls rusted and dissolved. On cue, Tay obligingly fell from the tree and let King Joel and Kaidan Shinji mangle him with their enchanted blades. For most of that summer, the year 675 of the First Era, Tay was nearly insensible by the power of the sun. There were no clouds, but it rained most every night, so the vegetation on the island of Gorn was bewilderingly lush. Stones themselves seemed to glow with sunlight, and the ditches burned with white meadowsweet and parsley down. All around him were soft smells of flower and tree untouched by wind. Foliage was purple-green, blue-green, ash-green, white-green. The wide cupolas, twisting cobbled streets and thatched roofs at the little village of Gorn and massive bleached rock of Sandal House all were magical to him. Yet the dreams haunted his nights, and the song continued whether he was awake or not. Against Aunt Ulia's admonishments, Tay, Bainara, and Vaster had breakfast outdoors every morning with the servants. Ulia would hold an interior breakfast for herself and any visiting dignitaries. Guests were rare, so she often ate alone. At first the servants would dine in silence, attempting gentility, but they broke down and would regale the children with gossip, reports, stories, and rumors. Poor Arno is laid up with a fever again. Telling you they're cursed, the whole lot of them. Piss on the fairy and they piss right back on you. Doesn't little Miss Starcia look, just a wee bit tight around the belly region lately? She's not. The only servant who didn't speak at all was Tay's nursemaid, Ediba. She wasn't pretty like the other maids, but the scars on her face did not deform her. Her poorly set broken nose and short hair gave her a certain alien mystique. She would merely quietly smile at gossip and look at Tay with almost frightening love and devotion. One day after breakfast, Bainara whispered to Tay and Vaster, "We have to go to the hills on the other side of the island." She had used such imperatives before and always had something wonderful to show. A waterfall tucked away behind ferns and tall rocks, a sunny grove of figs, a discreet still some peasants had set up, a sickly oak, twisted into a kneeling human figure, a collapsed stone wall that they imagined was thousands of years old, the last refuge of a doomed princess they named Morel. The three walked across the forest until they came to a clearing. A few hundred feet beyond, the meadow sank into a dry creek bed filled with small, smooth stones. Followed that into the dark woods where trees canopied high over their heads. Sporadic red and yellow blossoms burst along the moist underbrush, but they became rarer and rarer as the children marched on under the umbrageous oaks and elms. The air crackled with birds, ticking a staccato chord piece, a minor chord of the song. "Where are we going?" asked Tay. "It's not where we're going, it's what we're going to see," replied Bernard. The forest surrounded the three children completely, bathed them in its tenebrous hues, and breathed on them with wet chirrups and sighs. It was easy for them to imagine that they were within a monster, walking along its twisted spine of stones. Bainara scrambled up the steep hill and peered through the thick mass of shrub and tree. Tay lifted Vaster out of the creek bed and climbed out, gripping soft grass for support. There was no path through the forest here. Brambles and low-hanging branches struck at them like the claws of chained beasts. The cries of the birds became ever more stentorious, as if angered at the invasion. One limb drew blood on Vaster's cheek, but he didn't cry out. Even Bainara, who could pass like an ethereal creature through the impenetrable forests, had a braid catch on a bramble, ruining the intricate pattern a servant had woven hours before. She paused to pull out the other braid, so her bright, unruly tresses fell freely behind her. Now she was something wild, a nymph guiding the other two through her woodland domain. The song began to beat like a wild pulse. They were on a shelf of stone below a cliff overlooking a tremendous gorge, staring over an expanse of cinder. It looked like the scene of a tremendous battle, a holocaust of fire. Charred boxes, weaponry, animal bones, and detritus too annihilated to be identified littered the ground. Speechless, Tay and Vaster stepped into the black field. Bainara smiled, proud that she had finally found something of true wonder and mystery. "What is this place?" asked Vaster at last. "I don't know." Bainara shrugged. "I thought at first that it was some kind of ruin, but now I think it's a junk pile. Just not like any junk pile I've ever seen. Just look at this stuff." The three began an unorganized survey of the dusty mounds of refuse. Bainara found a twisted sword only lightly blackened by flame and began polishing it to read the inscription on the blade. Vaster amused himself by breaking brittle boxes with his hands and feet, imagining himself a giant of unbelievable strength. A battered shield attracted Tay. There was something about it that reverberated with the sound of the song. He pulled it out and wiped its surface clean. "I've never seen that crest before," said Bainara, looking over Tay's shoulder. "I think I have, but I don't remember," Tay whispered, trying to conjure the memory from his dreams. He was sure he'd seen it there. "Look at this!" Vaster cried, interrupting Tay's thoughts. The boy was holding up a crystal orb. As his hand moved over the surface, brushing away grit and dust, the key in the song rose, which sent a shiver through Tay's entire body. Inara ran over to look at Vaster's treasure, but Tay felt paralyzed. "Where did you find that?" she gasped, gazing into the swirl beneath the crystal surface. "Over in the wagon," Vaster gestured toward a heap of blackened wood, barely discernible from the other piles, but for its cart spokes. Inara began digging into the half-collapsed structure, so only her feet could be seen. The song built in potency, sweeping over Tay. She began walking toward Vaster slowly. "Give me that," he whispered in a voice he could barely recognize as his own. "No," Vaster whispered back, his eyes locked on the colors reflected in the heart of the globe. "It's mine." Baynara dug through the remains of the wagon for several more minutes, but she could find no treasures like Vaster's. Most everything within was destroyed, and what remained was commonplace by any standards. Broken arrows, armor shards, guar bones. Frustrated, she pulled herself out into the sunlight. Tay was alone at the edge of the great gorge. "Where's Vaster?" Tay blinked and then turned back to his cousin with a shrug and a grin. "He went back to show everyone his new plunder. Did you find anything interesting?" "Not really," said Baynara. "We probably ought to get back home before Vaster tells them anything that'll get us in trouble." Tay and Baynara started the walk back at a quick pace. Tay knew that Vaster would not be there when they got back. He would never be returning home again. The crystal globe rested snugly in Tay's satchel, hidden under a pile of junk he had picked up. With all his heart, he prayed for the song to return and drown out the memory of the gorge and the long, silent fall down. Boy had been so surprised. He hadn't even time to scream. Poison Song, Book 2. Tay felt no guilt, which frightened him. All through the long, fast walk away from the gorge, through the woods, across the dry creek bed, he chatted merrily with Baynara, fully aware that he had just committed murder. Whenever his mind strayed from the conversation and he thought back on the last moments of Vaster's short life, the song would soar. He could not think of the boy's death, but Tay knew he was responsible. "You're a mess!" cried Aunt Ulia the moment she saw the two children emerging from the woods into the grounds of Sandal House. "Where have you been?" "Didn't Vaster already tell you?" asked Tay. The scene played itself out as Tay knew it would, every dancer in the song performing their steps as choreographed, Aunt Ulia saying that she had not seen Vaster, Baynara, not yet frightened, making up an innocent lie about the threesome not having strayed far, saying he must have gotten lost. The slow but steady rhythm of panic intensifying as night began to fall, and Vaster had not yet returned. Baynara and Tay, tearfully, he was surprised how easy it was for him to cry without feeling, admitted where they had been, and leading Uncle Triffith and a crowd of servants to the junk pile and gorge. A tireless search through the woods as night turned to dawn, the weeping, the light punishment, merely cries of anger, that Baynara and Tay suffered for losing their young cousin. It was thought, from their stricken expressions, that the children felt guilty enough. They were sent to bed at dawn while the hunt through the woods continued. Tay was drifting to sleep while his nursemaid, Edaba, came into the room. The look of unwavering love and devotion had not left her eyes, and he sank gratefully into his dreams and nightmares with her holding his hand. The song wafted almost imperceptibly through his consciousness as he again had the vision of the room in the castle. The girl and her baby, the bird in the rafters, the dying fire, the sudden explosion of violence. Breathless, Tay opened his eyes. Edaba was stealing out the door, softly humming the song to herself. In her hand was the crystal globe from his satchel. For a moment he hesitated, about to cry out. How did she know the song? Was she aware that he had murdered another boy to get the globe? Somehow he knew that she was helping him, that she knew all and loved him and sought only to protect him. The next day, the next week, and the next month were all the same. No one spoke very much, and when they did it was to suggest new places to look for the missing boy. Everywhere had been searched thoroughly. Tay was curious why they never looked in the gorge, but he understood how inaccessible it was. A side effect of Vaster's absence was that the tutorial sessions with Rena Gaffrisi took on a more serious, even academic quality. The younger boy's high spirits and meager attentiveness had always cut the lessons short, but sensible Benara and quiet Tay were ideal pupils. He was particularly impressed by how focused they became during a rather dry history lecture about the heraldic symbols of houses of Morrowind. The crest of the Hlalu features a scale, he sniffed disdainfully. They see themselves as the great compromisers, as if that was something honorable. Many hundreds of years ago, they were the tribesmen following Restain who chose... Pardon me, Kena, asked Benara, but what is the crest with the insect on it? You don't know House Redoran? Asked the tutor, lifting up one of the shields. I know you have a sheltered life on Gorn, but you're surely old enough to recognize... Not that one, Kena, replied Tay. I think she means the other crest, with an insect. I see, nodded Kena Kafrisi, brow furrowed. Yes, you would be too young to have ever seen the crest of the sixth house, the House of Dagoth. Our enemies, together with the accursed heretical Dwemer in the War of the Red Mountain, now totally destroyed, thanks be to the Lord, Mother, and Wizard. That house was a curse on that land for millennia, and when at last their pestilence was snuffed out, the very earth itself breathed a cloud of fire and ash in relief, bringing day to night for over years to him. Benara and Tara and Tay knew they could not speak, but they exchanged knowing glances at one another as the tutor enlarged on the theme of the great wickedness of the Dwemer and the House Dagoth. As soon as the lesson ended, they walked silently out of Sandal House until they were far away from all ears and eyes. The afternoon sun stretched out of the shadows of the spear-like trees surrounding the meadow. Off in the distance, they could hear the sounds of the workers beginning their preparations for the autumn-tide harvest, yelling to one another unintelligibly in coarse and familiar accents. That was definitely the symbol in that shield you found at the garbage heap, Benara said at last. Everything there must be a remnant of House Dagoth. Tay nodded. His mind was on the strange crystal globe. He felt a light vibration of sound, soundless music touch his body, and knew he was discovering a new cadence of the song. Why would our people have burned and discarded all that? He asked thoughtfully. Do you think the House Dagoth was so evil that everything associated them could have been cursed? Benara laughed. At the height of the day, all talk of curses in the evil sixth house were pure supposition, something to add romance to one's life, but nothing to worry about. The two children walked back to the castle for yet another in a series of cold, quiet dinners. As the night fell, Benara looked through the treasures she had picked up on the junk heap. By the light of the moon, the small jars, the torque with orange gemstones, the bits of tarnished silver and gold of no obvious purpose, all took on a sinister aspect. Revulsion overtook her feeling of admiration instantly. There was a strange energy to them, a tincture of death and corruption that was undeniable. Benara ran to the window and vomited. Looking out to the dark open lawn below, she saw a figure below, lighting an arrangement of candles in the shape of a large insect, the symbol of the House Dagoth. When it looked in her direction, she pulled back, but she saw the face illuminated by the tallows. It was Oedipal, Tay's nursemaid. The next morning, Benara left the castle grounds early, bearing a large sack filled with her treasures. She carried them to the dumping ground and left them there. Then she returned and told her uncle Triffith what she had seen the night before, leaving out only what had made her sick in the first place. Oedipal was banished from the Isle of Gorn without discussion. She wept, begging to be allowed to say goodbye to Tay, but all believed that would be too dangerous. When Tay asked what had become of her, he was told she had to return to her family on the mainland. He had grown too old for a nursemaid. Benara never told him what she knew, for she was afraid. Volume 3. Tay was 18 in the year 685 of the First Era when he first saw Mournhold, city of spires, home of the goddess. His cousin Calcarith, already a senior initiate in the temple, gave him a couple rooms on the ground floor of the house he had purchased. They were small and unfurnished, but bitter green grew outside the windows, and when the wind blew, they filled his bedroom with a lovely, spicy air. The chords of the song did not trouble him anymore. Sometimes he was even unconscious to it, so low and melodic it had become. Occasionally, when he was passing through the street on the way to the temple for his instruction, someone would pass him, and the song would rise in intensity before falling away again. Whatever was different about those people, they never tried to ascertain. He remembered the last time he'd let the song lead him and called for him to murder his young cousin, Vasta. Memory did not trouble him unduly, but he did not want to hurt anyone unless he had to. House couriers regularly brought Tay letters from Benara, still back in Sandal House in the Isle of Gorn. She might have gone to study at the temple, but she was certainly intelligent enough, but she chose not to. In a year or two at most, she would have to leave and assume her place in House Indoril, but she was not in a hurry. Tay welcomed the trivial gossipy news the letters brought, and responded back with news of his own studies and romances. In his 3rd month in Mournhold, he had already met a girl. She was also a student in the temple, and her name was Akka. Tay wrote enthusiastically about her to Benara, describing her as having the mind of Sothasil, the wit of Vivek, and the beauty of Almalexi. Benara replied back merrily that if she had known how blasphemous students of the temple were allowed to be, she might have become an initiate herself. "You're very devoted to your cousin," Akka laughed when Tay showed her the letter. "Am I looking at the last remains of a thwarted romance?" "She's lovely, but I never thought of her that way," Tay scoffed. "Incest never particularly interested me." "Is she a very close cousin, then?" Tay thought for a moment. "I don't know. Truthfully, no one spoke much of either her parents or mine, so I really don't know how we're connected. They were casualties of the War of the Red Mountain. That I know, and it seemed to cast rather a pall on the adult's humor whenever we asked about her parents or mine. After a while, we stopped asking. But you're an Indoril too. Perhaps you're a closer cousin to me than Bina?" "Perhaps so," Akka smiled, rising from her chair. She uncoiled her hair, which had been pulled up in the formal arrangement reserved for well-born priestesses. As Tay watched, transfigured, she removed the small brooch that fastened her robe to her shoulder cape. The soft, silken fabric slipped down slowly, exposing her dark, slender body to him for the first time. "If we are, does incest particularly interest you now?" "Worst come online ever. Oh my god. Oh, my brain needs a shower. Okay. As they made love, the song began a slow, rhythmic ascension in Tay's head. The vision of Akka before him darkened and was replaced by images from his nightmares before returning again. And finally he collapsed, spent. The room seemed filled with the fiery red clouds of his dream. The screams of the woman and her child facing death echoed in his head. He opened his eyes, and there was Akka, smiling at him. Tay kissed her, grateful to have her in his arms. For the next 2 weeks, Tay and Akka were never far apart. Even when they were at study in opposite wings of the temple, Tay thought of her, and somehow knew she was thinking of him. They would rush to be together afterward, ravishing one another in his rooms every night, and in a private corner of the temple garden every day. It was while Tay was rushing to see his beloved one afternoon that the song rose up in powerful, strident tones at the approach of an old, ragged woman. He closed his eyes and tried to quiet it, but when he looked again at her purchasing pork-bulb papyrus from a street vendor, he knew who she was. His old nursemaid from Gorn, Oedipus, she who had abandoned him without even a farewell to join her family on the mountain mainland. She didn't see him, and as she passed down the street, Tay turned and began to follow. They walked through shadowy passageways into the very poorest part of the city, a quarter which was as alien to him as the wildest principles of Akavir. She unlocked a small wooden door on a street without a name, and he finally called out to her name. She didn't turn, but when he followed, he found that the door had been left ajar. The chamber was murky and damp like a cave. She stood facing him, her face even more wrinkled than he had remembered it, etched with lines of sorrow. He closed the door behind him, and she took his hand and kissed him. "You are so tall and strong," Oedipus said, beginning to weep. "I should have killed myself before I let them take me away from you." "How is your family?" Tay asked coldly. "You are my only family," she whispered. "The Indoril pigs forced me to leave, thrusting their blades in my face when they discovered that I served you and your family, not them. That bitch girl Benara saw me at a prayer at morning." "You're speaking like a madwoman," Tay sneered. "How could you love me and my family but hate the House Indoril? I am of the House Indoril." "You are old enough to know the truth," Oedipus said fiercely. Tay had bitterly joked about her madness, but he saw something close to it burning in her ancient eyes. "You were not born of House Indoril. They brought you into their house after the war. like they and the other houses brought in all the orphans. It was the only way they sought to erase history and remove all traces of their enemies by raising their enemies as one of them. Tay turned toward the door. I can see why you were taken from born a woman. You are delusional. Wait! Ediba cried, rushing to a musty cabinet. She retrieved from it a glass globe that shimmered with a spectrum of color even in the chamber's gloom. Even in the chamber's gloom. Do you remember this? You slew that little boy Vastra because he possessed it, and I took it from your room because you were not ready to face the facts of your inheritance and the responsibility then. Did you not wonder why this bauble drew you so? They gasped and thought he did not want, and though he did not want to, said, I hear a song sometimes. That is the song of your ancestors, of your true family, she said, nodding. You must not fight it, for it is a song of destiny. It will lead you to do what must be done. Shut up! Tay howled. Everything you say is a lie. You're insane. Ediba threw the globe to the ground with all her might, shattering it with a deafening retort. The shards melted into the air. All that was left was a small silver ring, simply wrought with a flat crown. The old woman quietly picked it up and handed it to him, while he stood with his back against the door, trembling. This is your inheritance, as the bearer of the 6th house. The ring's crown was meant for stamping and sealing official house proclamations. Tay had seen his uncle Trilith's similar ring, crested with the wing that would seal House Indra. This ring was different, for an insect design which he remembered from the day when Kenneth Gafrisi had taught the house heraldry to Benar and him. It was the symbol of the accursed house Dagoth. The song took over all of Tay's senses. He heard its music, smelled its horror, tasted its sadness, felt its power, and the only thing he could see before him was the flames of its destruction. When he took the ring and placed it on his finger, his mind was not aware of what he was doing, nor was Tay aware of anything but the song when he removed his dagger from its sheath and thrust it into his old nursemaid's heart. Tay did not even hear her final words. Ediba fell bleeding to the ground and groaned with a blood-streaked smile. Thank you. When the veil of the song lifted, Tay did not realize at first he was no longer dreaming. Before him had been flames, the very one that destroyed the home of his birth, and flames were before him again. They were flames from a fire he had struck outside the crumbling tenement that were already bursting through walls, consuming the body of his old nursemaid. Tay fled through the streets as people began to call for the guards. Thanks for watching. Wishing you found family, creative hobbies, a hot bath after a long day, and food you love as much as Saleya loves apple pies.